Welcome into Titans today, and yes, we will be spending quite a bit of time on Ryan Tannehill and his short-term and kind of long-term future as the Titans quarterback. Before we get going, what would you do with him? T, for you trade him, if you can find somebody. S, to start him, or B, to bench him. The Titans offense, in many facets, to be clear, is struggling right now. And quarterback Ryan Tannehill carries at least some of that blame. And as we'll get into, I think it's a sizable portion of the blame, quite frankly. O-line certainly in that conversation too. There will come a time, potentially this year, that the young guys, whether it's Will Levis or Malik Willis or some combo of both or whatever the Titans' long-term plan is there, I'd assume it's Levis given the draft investment, that the young guys will have to play. Is it already there? Many social media, even some bloggers, I'll say, suggested benching Tannehill. ESPN continues to float the idea of trading Tannehill to the Jets. However, his rather burdensome $27 million salary does carry problems with that. Now, Tennessee could eat some of the money. You're already paying it to him on your books. You plan to, so it's doable. But that is an asterisk, plus the fact that Tannehill's been bad this year, which we'll get into, and he wasn't that great last year either. Tennessee has youthful options. Remember, they spent that third-round pick on Malik Willis in the 2022 NFL draft, and then he had to play last year, and it wasn't very good. But he has been better so far this year. Will Levis, the team traded up to the early part of round one, and allegedly were trying to get into the back end, or early part of round two. We're trying to get into the back end of round one. Couldn't quite find a taker, finally did. In theory, he's your long-term guy, and it'd at least be nice to see what he could do in year one if it comes to that. Might not be coming right now. After all, Mike Vrabel wants to win football games. He's a hell of a coach. He's not going to just roll over and tank or bottom out necessarily for an entire, 3/4 of a season. So pick a starting QB. Maybe not necessarily for this week, but let's say in the next 2 weeks. You're going to ride with Tannehill that entire time? Or you're going to try one of the young guys? RT for Ryan Tannehill, MW for Malik Willis, or WL for Will Levis. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage. Head down and sound off the questions asked so far. It is getting close to that time. This is probably a couple week away conversation. Like, you want to keep trying to win football games. But as it relates to Tannehill, like the good point was made by ESPN of, you could try to trade him, but don't you need to see some good games first out of Tannehill? I don't think there's any interest in Tannehill at his current salary. None whatsoever. It's a non-starter. Not quite $27 million. It's 27 divided by 17 times how many games are left. So, we'll just say we'll round to 20. Easy math there. But here's the issue. He has not been very good this year. Tannehill is putting up, frankly, career worst numbers, or at least worse than what he was in Tennessee and worse than what we saw for the most part in Miami even. Sub 60% completion rate at 6.6 yards per attempt. There's 1 touchdown. There's 3 interceptions. When the game scripts are favorable, he is able to have some success. That Chargers defense is bad. The Browns defense is great. He's had a solid game and a horrible game against Cleveland, although as we'll get into, yes, the offensive line does get a good amount of the blame. Trying to identify what the quarterback is responsible for is very tough. It's a team sport. There's 11 guys out there. Some metrics that try to account for that. QBR, ESPN's. Nothing's perfect, always worth mentioning, but it tries to identify running, throwing, etc. Ryan Tannehill is 32nd in the NFL, alongside legends like Justin Fields and Zach Wilson and Kenny Pickett and the struggling Bryce Young. That's just one metric. How about EPA per play? It is nerd stuff, so bear with me. It's expected points added. Now, this in general can become a little bit of an offensive statistic. Like if your players are making big yak plays, guess what? Your EPA ends up looking pretty good. Don't turn the ball over. Convert your drives. Don't make mistakes. It's expected points added based on down and distance situations, etc. Tannehill's 29th behind Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Bryce Young. Trevor Lawrence, very low. When you have a lot of bad drops, it tends to hurt your EPA per play, by the way. And Joe Burrow has not played well. That's per play basis, by the way. So you're contributing about negative 0.14 points per play. So you do 9 plays and you're losing a point per play. That's not very good. How about success rate? Also from running backs don't matter, or RBS, MDM. It's advanced metric stuff. It's valuable, I think. It's a data point, right? Success rate. 3rd and 6. Did you get the first down? No. 4th and 4, did you get the first down? No. First down, did you get like 5-ish yards? Depending on, again, down and distance scenarios. The Titans with Ryan Tannehill are dead last in success rate. They're having successful plays about a third of the time. It's worse than what Zach Wilson, Fields, Pickett are doing. That is all extremely concerning. 3 different data points, all of them saying it's bad. You really, really don't like to see that. Now, what you do like to see is when they're winning Titans football games, and you should be using Game Time to get the tickets to the sporting events, concerts, theater, comedy, whatever, all with Game Time. They've got killer last-minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Simply put, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. You find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. With zone deals, you just pick the section. Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. I don't know about you, but I don't care if I'm in, row M, if it's seat 12 or seat 15. Who cares? I'm in row M. That's what I'm looking for, right? Savings. That's kind of a no-brainer right there, folks. And they're going to give you $20 off your first purchase when you go to GameTime.co, create an account, and use promo code TitansChat. That link will be in both the comment section and the description of today's show. Terms do apply, but create that account. Redeem code TitansChat at GameTime.co. Download GameTime today for last-minute tickets and the lowest price, all guaranteed. If you're not using Game Time, I think you guys are making a mistake. The link and the code will be in the comments section and in the description of today's video. Let's move to Derrick Henry. Now, this one might be a little bit complicated. I'll put it that way. Bleacher Report once again pushing for it. I want to be clear, I'm not necessarily doing that today. There is an argument to be made, it's mostly what Bleacher Report did, if the Titans struggle, if we get to the back end of the season, or before the trade deadline, I should say, and let's say you lose to the Bengals, and you lose to the Colts, and you lose to the Ravens, and then you're in the bye, and you've got one win, you can make an argument that maybe getting something back for Henry makes some sense. He does have a $10.5 million base salary. That's a lot of money, but again, you could eat some of it if you so chose. That wouldn't be a debilitating factor there. And it is time to really have the regression conversation for Derrick Henry. His age, his workload were already red flags, but he'd been pretty consistent still. There were some minute signs of possible regression, but they were better last year. He's averaging 3.2 yards per carry. And absolutely the offensive line gets blame here. They have not been nearly good enough. It's also the argument of why maybe you don't want to pay backs big money. Let's go to next-gen stats. Rushing yards over expected. This is what it's blocked for. You'll factor in some expectation of breaking tackles as well. How many running yards over the expected average are you getting? Folks, this is regression. From 1.1, which is 2018, 2019, 2020, those are all top of the league numbers, especially 2018, 2019. They dipped hard in 2021, but they got better in 2022. And if your offensive line is really, really bad, there's only so many chances you'd even get to get more yards over expected. It's still not negative. It's still not really, really bad. He's still doing better than the average back would be in theory. But it is getting worse. And as great as Derrick Henry has been, you have to have the regression conversation. He's not under contract next year, and they drafted a running back. seems significant. So is this Derrick Henry's last season as a Titan? Y for yes and for no in the comments section. Now, these situations in which Tyjae Spears is being used are different than Derrick Henry's, but at almost 2-yard per carry difference is a lot. It was a lot of like, why is Tyjae Spears playing so many snaps for Tennessee? What about Derrick Henry? It might be that Spears is just good, and Tennessee is trying to find ways to work from that perspective. So it's concerning. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sure we'll check in on that as the season moves along, but make sure you guys are subscribed for future videos. YouTube.com/Titans Today. Let's revisit our Lael Collins conversation. He has literally passed the physical, which I would say you can now pass physical. You're probably still going to be 2-3-ish weeks away. So basically that 4 to 6 week timeline at minimum, I think was pretty accurate. It's been, we had mentioned, it had been reported as well. It is worth mentioning, for what we said the previous 2 portions of today's show, the O-line's not been very good. To the surprise, maybe not that many people. There are issues here with Collins. A, how long is it going to be before he's ready to go? He's also due $2.1 million in injury guarantees. So if you can't get more than that, it does make some sense, short term at least, to not play and just get fully healthy. He was fine for the Bengals last year. I think he can still be a solid run blocker. I had concerns last year about his mobility with his hip problems. Now you're throwing a knee in there. That's a red flag. The biggest issue I have here, Collins, I think, is a right tackle. The Cowboys and Bengals, I think, both thought he could not play guard. Well, right tackle is actually fine right now. I think Chris Hubbard has been good enough at the moment. Andre Dillard has not been very good. Dylan Radins was struggling. I mean, he replaced Xavier Newman. He played one good game, and then the Browns got to town, and they smoked him pretty bad. So I don't know. I just don't know if he's a good enough fit for this team with what their needs are along the offensive line. Once Skoronski gets back, you'll feel better about left guard, but it's left tackle then to be maybe your bigger red flag there. And I don't think Collins can play that. So would you sign him? A for ad, P for pass. Sound off where else but in the comment section right now. Again, I don't know if he can play on the left side for you anymore. I don't know when he's going to be healthy, and that's where your issues are. So it's worth having that conversation like we just did in the Titans organization, but I also don't necessarily think it's going to be like, oh, yeah, you got to sign him. Are you going to play him? I'm not sure he's better than Chris Hubbard. Weird statement to make maybe, but I don't think he's better at this point. So monitor, but I'm not falling over myself to go get him.